Are you angry at a mother who didn't protect you from being sexually abused? I have been angry with my mother since I've been a kid. And she's probably one of the sweetest people in the world, but she struggles with mental illness. And I never knew that the reason that she was so completely unaware during the years when I was a kid, and my stepfather sexually abused me and brought me basically into a den of freaking pedophile friends of his. But this is not a video about encouraging you to feel sorry for yourself. This is a video where what I'm wanting to do, my intention, is to reach out to you, because I know perhaps, like me, you've also been struggling with feeling deeply ashamed and brokenhearted and feeling abandoned and betrayed and hurt and unsafe. So much of a feeling that feeling unsafe as a child creeps in and can strangle your life as an adult. And for me, I spent so much of my life in a place where I was hurting so deeply. And I was terrified of feeling those feelings. So what I did was I used food and I ate. I am still working on changing my weight. I am completely transforming my relationship with food, because I used to see food as my only crutch, as my life preserver, as my singular means of survival. Living in an incredibly unsafe household, where at any moment I never knew when I was going to be turned into an object. So if you're struggling with eating and you find yourself chomping on chocolate bars for breakfast and trying to calm your nervous anxiety, eating, finding a million different reasons throughout the day why food is your only friend, the news I have to share with you is really wonderful. It's not true. Food is not your only friend. And food is not your enemy. Food is just food. But until you look at the corners of your life where the consequences of being a sexual abuse survivor are still evident, it's going to trigger feelings of vulnerability and shame and sadness and depression and anger and betrayal. and all of those things. As I had shared in my people-pleasing video, making my decision to stop rescuing toxic parents, feeling compulsed to try and turn around history. And I don't even have any explanation for why I felt the need to take care of parents who had hurt me so much. But I did. It was my way of getting from them the love and attention that I never felt. Running my father's business during so many years when he was so verbally abusive and so disrespectful and so hurtful. Rushing every single moment. My mother had, as I said, she struggles with mental illness, bipolar. Every single time that she would have a breakdown, a crisis, I would be there. I would sit and talk to her for like 6 hours at a time on the phone and tap with her. And all of those years of rescuing just people in general, I'm only now finally starting to realize that it was my time that I gave. Many times I did it incredibly willingly and out of a deep passion of wanting to give back and to, and forward blessings. Like in the case of taking care of my Nana. Wow, I would do anything for her. And in the case of starting to run my father's business, step in and run his business, I did it because I absolutely adored him, and we had had a beautiful relationship through my teens. And he rescued me from that horrible situation, living with my mother and stepfather in Florida. But don't get all caught up in my history. There's enough drama there for 10 million movies. It's not about me. It's about you. I want you to think about the places in your life, the corners in your life where you feel that same kind of feeling that you felt living with that secret of being sexually abused. That slithering sense of shame that just creeps in and strangles you. So the next time that you find yourself grabbing a candy bar at 11 o'clock in the morning, or eating a pound of chocolates, sitting and watching the news and feeling so helpless and lost and wondering, where's the kindness, where's the love, where's the goodness, where's the safety in your life, in your future? Know that it's not going to come from outside. It's got to come from you. It's got to come from me. It's got to come from all of us collectively. But you cannot waste another minute of your time focusing on other people's drama and trying to take care of other people's lives if they're capable of doing it themselves. Your time is too precious. You have things to do. You have people to serve. You have a precious life to be lived. Now I know that you've been struggling with feelings of depression and sadness and feeling like you're stuck or feeling like you've lost so much of your life being in service to others. But I want to encourage you to flip that around and look at it from an empowering perspective. Look at it and realize, wow, wait a minute. I've given so much to others, but now you're at a crossroads. You have a choice. What do you want to do? Do you want to start giving to yourself? Because time is ticking. And nobody is guaranteed time. There are dreams that you have. There are passions that you have that you want to pursue and you want to follow, and goals and places you want to go and people you want to see. And time is ticking. And what the food obsession is doing for you in your life, that's true. It does numb the feelings, and it numbs the emotion, and it dulls your senses, and it, gives you this false sense of it's gonna be okay. But you are no longer that little child. You're no longer that younger version of you. Whether it's a bad marriage that you suffered, or sexual abuse, domestic abuse, violence, any kind of assault, anything like that, or you've been shaken to the core of your being to taste fear. You know what it's like to taste raw fear. But you're no longer that younger version of you. Now you're an adult, and you get to step into your power. Because when you've gone through the worst, when you've gone through experiences like you have, that's raw energy. That's the secret sauce of your power. That's the secret sauce of your confidence going forward. Don't let anyone convince you to try and neutralize, the way you feel or your emotions, or, just, calm down. No. You get as hot-tempered and mean and nasty as you want to get. I always encourage my clients when we do tapping sessions to just feel the raw emotion. Yell, scream, do whatever you have to, curse. Okay, but anyway, so the message is that all the time that you have been spending hating and resenting others, whether or not they are justifiably deserving of your anger, just realize that the only one who's losing is you. Because time is ticking. And it's not possible for you to have and to hold anger and hatred and sadness and feelings of betrayal in your heart without you feeling it. So I want to invite you to come to a free call next week on Saturday. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be working with a group of women, teaching them how to end their food obsession. Because I know that you're thinking that you're addicted to chocolate, or you can't get enough of drinking Coke, soda, candy, whatever it is. It doesn't even matter. What I want you to realize is that food, that substance, that addictive substance that you've been going to over the course of your life as a means of kind of grabbing on to a source of survival, you don't need it anymore. You don't need that anymore. Now, it's different saying you don't need it versus you can't have it, or you shouldn't have it, or all that kind of crap. No. I'm saying you don't need it. What that means is that now you have the power of choice. What I do is I teach the women in my coaching groups, I teach them how to use a stress relief technique called emotional freedom technique. And by using that, it changes and it rewires the brain to look at situations in your life and turn them upside on their head so that you now see things from a completely different perspective, from an enlightened perspective, from a lighter perspective, from a more empowered perspective. So you could be taking all of the feelings that you have around feeling this compulsive urge to eat chocolate, feeling deeply ashamed because you feel like you have an insatiable appetite and you'll never be satisfied, unless you eat a pound of chocolate or whatever it is. I can't even think about it. Cheetos, potato chips, all that sort of thing. What that is doing, what that food is doing, is it's holding you down, it's pulling you down like an anchor. And what I do in my workshops is I give women the tools to master food. What does that mean? What that basically means is that you get to choose. You get to choose what you want to eat because you're no longer in that desperately scared, needy, gotta have it kind of place. I am not at all against food. I love food. I love chips. I love chocolate. I love like raspberry jellies and orange jellies and all sorts of things like that. Sugar, fat, give it to me, baby, give it, okay? But that's not the way that I eat anymore. That doesn't mean it's not in my home. It's in my home. I've got Milk Duds and Cheetos and potato chips and orange jellies and what else? Corn chips, assorted chocolate and cookies around the house, but that's rare. And what I mean by that it's rare, is that by not restricting myself and by not living with a sense of being bad if I eat those things, or being good if I choose to have homemade lentil soup or split pea soup or something like that. When you take off all that kind of crap of being good versus bad, these foods are healthy, these foods are unhealthy, when you strip food of the labels And when you just recognize food as being food, you're in a position of power. Because here's what I think about when I think I have what I call the binge bucket. It's at the bottom of my kitchen closet. I got to snap a picture so that you can see it. It's, I don't know, maybe it's a 6-gallon container. I'm not sure, but whatever. What I think about before I eat those foods, orange jellies. You know, the ones with the crystals of sugar on them? Oh, yes. I used to be able to eat like an entire bag of them. Now, if I want them, if I feel that craving where I have to have them, I'll take 4 of them, about 4 or 5 of them, and put them into a blue Pyrex dish that I have, custard cup, and I'll eat them. But here's the thing. I am fully aware of the power and the potency of those orange jellies. What I mean by that is they're going to put me to sleep. That's just the way it is. Within 15 minutes, I'm going to be fast asleep. So when I make my choices of what I want to eat, it's based on the amount of energy that I want to have. If I'm doing a lot of work and I need to power through and my day is going to be very active, I'm going to be eating light. I'm going to be eating light foods. I'm going to be eating salads. I'm going to be eating the split pea or lentil soup that I made. Well, I have to make the lentil soup today, but split pea soup, or having like beets and lots and lots of fruit and vegetables. It's those kind of valleys that I fall into where I get depressed or anxious or frightened of revealing or being vulnerable, that will kind of make me feel like, oh, I gotta get those orange jellies, I gotta have them. And with the orange jellies, I'll pull out some of the Cheetos. The Cheetos are the hard, the French, the fried ones. Okay, but anyway, I have Cheetos, I have cheese doodles, both of them. So I do not recommend for you to deprive yourself ever, ever, ever of the foods you love. That's why I stand so strongly on the platform of your binges are your best friends. Because when we look at what we're eating, the event that occurred before we decided, that split-second moment where we decided, I have to eat something, when you feel like you can't handle it anymore, you're going to die, your head is going to fly off, whether it's coming from overwhelm or a fear or a confrontation or an event that you're planning to go to or do or whatever, where you're going to feel out of place and isolated and unloved and unwanted and all of that stuff, where it's all just like the old baggage from the sexually abusive past. Just realize that those times when you gravitate toward food and you're eating that chocolate bar at 11 o'clock in the morning, it's coming from the places in your life where you were told you're not good enough, that, you know, you can't handle it, you're incompetent, you're incapable, being shamed, anything like that. Because when you use food as your crutch, it's because you don't yet have a sense of standing under your own power, standing firmly. in your power. And that means that there's a part of you that hasn't yet owned your story. Because if you're thinking that somebody else, some situation in your life, no matter what it was, no matter how bad or horrific, I deeply, deeply, deeply empathize with you. But I want you to realize that that experience is your diamond. That's your gold right there. That is the source of your power going forward that will make you unstoppable. So, back to my relationship with my mom. Sadly, because I never really had an understanding of mental illness, when my mom was diagnosed in her, I think it was 40s, after my Grammy had passed away, that strong, tough woman, my mother's mother. I went for years to reconcile the pain of my past, the pain of my sexually abusive past. And in the course of doing that, one of the sessions that I went to with my therapist, my mom would, on occasion, she would fly to New York and she would come and do a therapy session with me and Ruth, my therapist. And one day Ruth turned to me after talking to Mom and to me together, and she said, okay, maybe these aren't her exact words, they may be flavored by me. She said, my God, Andrea. She said, it's amazing that you turned out as incredible and light as you are, because with the experience that you've gone through with the mother, with your mother as she is, she said, it's my professional opinion that your mother has probably always suffered with depression, and that has been the reason why she has been so unavailable, emotionally unavailable to you throughout your entire life, and why she didn't protect you. In that moment, when Ruth said that to me, it turned on a light in my head. And it opened up my heart. And it started me on an exploration and a journey to re-look and rediscover my mother. And the years that lay ahead, because she continued to live with my sexually abusive stepfather, even after, at 16 years old, I told her about all that had happened. He had total control over her. He was such an incredibly jealous, angry man. But he was always so sweet with her. He was so loving with her. So she definitely chose him over her kids. But what I saw, what unraveled over the next coming years, was seeing my mother emotionally and mentally fall apart, and seeing the ravages and the crippling grip of mental illness. And I always had in mind my mother, but my brother was living close to mom, and he would tell me what was going on with her. And it was overwhelming and frightening for me to hear about my mother fighting police officers and going down to the lobby of her apartment building wearing nothing but a nightgown, offering food to strangers and inviting them to parties that would never be. That was my mommy. So I want you to look at your past and your experiences of being abused and all of the anger and the resentment that you've been holding toward people who reinforced or created an environment conducive to you being abused. Like in my case, it was my mother. I was angry at her for years. And I blamed her for the horrible things that were done to me. And now I realize she was a victim of her own illness. Like one horrible example that lingers in my mind is that after she and my dad had divorced and she started going out with George, my pedophile stepfather, she craved the sense of family so desperately because my father was away from the house so often. I have no memories of living together with them, where she came up with the idea, I don't think she came up with the idea, that David, my brother, and George, and mom would like be a family, that it was normal to walk around the house naked and to take naps naked and to freaking shower together as a family. Now I realize that her limitations and her desperation to want to create a sense of family, a sense of love, led her to being a victim herself and opening up the door to her children, my brother David and I, being victimized. Because it wasn't too far of a jump after she started going to her cancer care meetings and leaving me alone with George that he would just say, hey, let's take a shower together. And that's where everything started. Whew. There are real reasons why you're binging. And it has nothing to do with having no willpower, and it has nothing to do with being lazy or stupid or not caring about yourself or any of the nonsense that you may have heard people say. It has to do with feeling hurt. Has to do with feeling enraged. And because you're so uncomfortable feeling enraged, there's that deep, deep sense of hurt and helplessness and powerlessness that you feel. And a binge is your body's way of having a tantrum. Maybe like me, you were taught, you were raised to be a lady, to, be seen and not heard, to be pretty. Well, you have a lot to say. I know you do. You have fire inside of you, and I'd like to help you bring it out. I'd like to help you by showing you where to strike the match. The match is in you. So come to my call Saturday at 3 p.m. All right? Let's get freedom from food obsession. I'm going to show you how to deal with those cravings so your life can begin. And I will be promoting a program that I'm selling called Losing Weight Without Dieting. So just a heads up that that's coming. I am so excited for your future, and you should be too. Okay, have a great day. Bye now, Juicy Woman.